Well, hey there, happy innovators. How you guys doing? Long time no podcast, once again, I know. But, I've been busy, actually. I've been really busy working on, actually, several pieces of music all at one time. And just kind of getting them all ready to be released. So stay tuned for new music and everything. And, speaking of new music, I do want to talk a little bit today about some of the songs that I've just recently released, the songs that you've already heard. But before I get into that, I want to talk a little bit about the whole situation here in the States right now and really all over the world. I have to mention it, because I think it's something that's affecting everyone right now. It's something you can't get away from, and it's not the most important thing in the world. Like politics and world events are not the most important thing in the world. Okay, they're not, but they are important, and they should be talked about. And I just wanted to share, I guess, really quick, this idea, I guess maybe taking what I said in my last podcast a little bit further. I've come to the conclusion that when we're watching what's happening, like on social media and everything, it's really kind of like this. Basically, it's all like tabloids, When you watch YouTube, and I watch YouTube all the time, the thumbnails pop up, you see the topics and the things that the videos are about, and they look like the National Enquirer. I mean, it looks like tabloid fodder, and that's exactly, I think anyway, at this point, that's exactly what I think that we're looking at. And the question is, one, how much of what we're seeing is actually true? And how much of what we're seeing is actually just sensationalized storytelling? And, it's hard to discern sometimes fact from fiction. So what I would suggest is, don't pay too much attention to any of it, and if you're able to, maybe, like I have, tune out almost 100%. Almost. I no longer have a Facebook account. I no longer have Twitter. I've abandoned social media. I don't think that social media has really benefited my music at all. Not even a little. So it's something I find that I can do without. And at least for the time being, at least for, the near future, the foreseeable future, I plan on not participating in it anymore. And that's that. That's really pretty much all I want to say about it. I'm not too worried about the things that I see. I'm not too worried and, worked up about the conspiracy theories and, and all the, the fodder, the cannon fodder that we're getting from both the heritage media, and social media. It's all so convoluted that you can't really rely on it anymore, and it's really just entertainment and television. And you know what? I would much rather spend my time, checking out stuff that's totally irrelated to politics and world events, Is it sticking my head in the sand? No, not really, because, to a certain degree, it can't be avoided. You're going to hear about it no matter what. But is it healthy to be devoting, 50% or 80% of your thought processes, analyzing what's happening or what you're hearing about what's happening, which may or may not be true? I don't know. I don't think so. So, at least for me, for now, I'm just kind of like bowing out. I'll continue to make music. I'll continue to release stuff on YouTube, but I don't really have any use for anything else right now. I don't do Instagram. I don't do, Snapchat. or any of that stuff, because as we're seeing, they can cancel it at any time anyway. So what's the point? What's really going on here? I don't know. There's no way I could ever know. I can only stand back and observe and kind of use my best judgment and try to piece together some version of the truth of what's going on. But you know what? I have drum tracks to record, and I have a song to sing, or lyrics to write, a video to make. I'm busy. So there you go. There's that. Got that out of the way. Anyway, so today I want to talk about music. I originally wanted to do some kind of special thing, for the last 10 podcasts, but I couldn't really think of anything, to be honest. And, it's like maybe I'll do something special for like the last 5, okay? But I just really wanted to get behind the microphone today and do a little bit of talking. I think enough time had gone by. I don't want to let you guys hang too long without getting something from me. So, I thought, what I want to do is I want to talk about the past, 3 songs that I've released, okay? Because each one of them has kind of got a unique little story. And by now you've heard the music, you've, been enjoying it, hopefully. And I'll give you a little bit of background on some of those songs because it's kind of cool, I think. And also, too, I have another track that I'm working on right now that I'm probably going to try to release in tandem with this podcast. So there is new music coming very soon, and that song has a story too. I'll tell you that story too. But so I have these 3 songs that I just recently released for the new pipe choir album, The Wrench and the Rubicon. Okay, I had Circuit Freaker, I had Anatoly, and Everything Will Be All Right. Okay, so I guess I should start with Anatoly if I'm going to go with chronological order. Now, Anatoly was a song that was brand new. Okay, it was a piece of music that I had built, kind of assembled, and I was happy with the music, and it came along really quick, and I had a melody idea and lyric idea. Everything just kind of came along really quick. But what's kind of cool is this, and this is what makes Anatoly different than pretty much, I think, any other pipe choir song or PC3 song or whatever that I've ever released. Anatoly was the first time I based a song idea off of a movie. There was this movie that I saw a long time ago. It was a movie called The Island, and it was a Russian film, okay, had subtitles. Really great movie, filmed excellent and directed excellent, and the actors and the scenery and just the whole thing, the cinematography, everything was done so well, and it made such an impression on me. And it was actually part of this thing called filmmovement.com. It's this group of people that are putting out movies that are independent. They're not big budget films, but they're well-made films. And the films that they release are kind of curated, so they're not just hacks, and they're not, garbage. They're all really well-done films from directors and filmmakers from all over the world. And they're all independent, underground, and, of course, I'm into that kind of thing. It's totally cool with me. So I subscribed to this filmmovement.com, and every once in a while, once a month or something, I would get a new movie to watch, a new film, and this film, The Island, was one of those films from filmmovement.com. And I was so taken with this movie. It was just, there were so many things about it that I liked, and it had a lot of impact on me. Even long after I had seen it, it would kind of come back into my mind, and I would remember things, and just every once in a while my wife and I would watch the film again. Once again, it was like, even better the second time, even better the third time, just kept getting better. And I realized that this movie really has become kind of like a part of my creative nebula, like in my brain. Like this movie is in there. It's sunk into my synapse, and so there's this character in this movie, without ruining the movie for you. There's this character named Anatoly. That's his name. And I was really kind of taken with this character, and yeah, it's only an actor playing a role in a film, but sometimes if art is done in a really proper way, it can have a serious impact on you as a person, or me as a person. I mean, it can really take on more than just the sum of its parts. And so right when I was working on this song, I had the music done, the melody idea done, kind of like the lyric. My wife and I kind of like by accident wound up watching this film, The Island, again, and we hadn't seen it in a while, so it was just one of those reminders, like oh my gosh, like just this revelation, like how much this movie has sunk into my creativity, like into my ideas, and how much I related to the visuals and the subject matter and all that stuff. I mean, it was fantastic. So I decided that I was going to consciously try, to write a song like about that character, about that movie. And that may not seem like a big deal to you, but I've never done that before. It was something I thought was kind of like a challenge, and something that would have meaning. And I liked the idea of like someone's art influencing my art and kind of like complementing it, So there's this song Anatoly. So if you notice, like on the thumbnail for the video and everything, I had the text written in Russian, and it was about this character, Anatoly. And I won't say too much more about it. I'll let you watch the film, and then I'll let you listen to my lyrics and see if you can piece together kind of like what I'm talking about or whatever. And also too, I gotta say this about Anatoly, that song. There's a part, it's like the bridge of the song, where I'm just kind of making noises with my mouth. I'm not saying words. And the part where I go, oh, yeah, nah. When I'm doing that was a scat vocal that I did. And for the first time ever in a pipe choir song, I decided to leave that little piece of scat vocal in the song. I didn't re-sing it or anything. And I thought that was kind of like, a little bit daring, a little bit on the fringe, Not that it's a big deal or anything, but, for me it was kind of cool, right? So, yeah, there's Anatoly. Okay, so that was that one. And hopefully you guys liked it. I thought it sounded pretty good. There's a couple of things about it that, I wish I could go back and change. It's kind of like typical, Yeah, I work really hard on something, and I try really hard to make it great, and I release it, and then very often, like a few days later or something, I'll hear something in it and I'll go, oh, I should have done this different or whatever, but like nitpicking, But I try not to do too much of that, because it's not really that deep, And who knows, maybe in the future, somewhere down the line, 10 years from now, God willing, if I'm still alive, I'll revisit it. I don't know. Who knows? That's the freedom I have. The freedom as an artist. I can do whatever I want. I don't have to answer to some stupid like A&R guy or some stupid manager or somebody who's telling me what to do. I could do whatever the heck I want. So that's kind of cool. I love that. I love that about this whole thing. You know, it's so free and wide open. I could do whatever I want. Think about it. It's a hell of a life, you know? Anyway, so on to Circuit Freaker. Now, I told you guys in the last podcast, you know, I was sick and everything, and I was working on Circuit Freaker, and the finished mix of Circuit Freaker came out the way it did because I was like in this cloud, you know, this pharmaceutical cloud in my brain, and it was like all I could do was, you know, work on this instrumental piece of music. I couldn't sing because the medicine I was on was making me hiccup, and I couldn't sing, and I couldn't do a podcast. All I could do was just tweak this song over and over again, just for 2 weeks, just combing over it and changing this and changing that and adding this and eliminating this, and just, you know, that was all I did. But that song is actually very old. Circuit Freaker was an idea that I had written back in like 2008, and I wrote it exactly at the time I was moving from one place to another. And it just so happened, okay, that the place that I was moving to was a place that I would be able to have a real studio, like in my house, okay? So it was my first experience with that. Like up until that point, my studio had just been kind of like a room with some equipment in it. But now I was in a place where I had a studio. And the first song that I worked on, one of the first songs I worked on anyway, was Circuit Freaker. And it was an idea that I always liked. You know, it was something I thought was pretty strong. I wanted to, you know, go as far with it as I could. But what happened was, like I've talked about before in past podcasts, my recording equipment crashed, okay? And I lost all the sessions for that song. And this is back before I, you know, had the foresight to, you know, have backups and redundancies and all that kind of stuff. So I literally lost, you know, the sessions for Circuit Freaker. But I did have the finished mixes of Circuit Freaker burned down to CD. So I was able to listen to the song and enjoy it. I just couldn't, you know, add to it or amend it or change it in any way. So, you know, for about 10 and 12 years or whatever, I would just every once in a while, you know, pop in Circuit Freaker, the instrumental thing that I had, this idea for this song that I had, and, you know, I would listen to it, and of course I would like it, you know, and I would bum out because I really wanted to work on it, but I had lost all the sessions stuff, whatever. So maybe about 3 months ago, I decided that what I was going to do was start from scratch. I was going to redo Circuit Freaker. I would start from scratch, you know, from the ground up, and that's what you got when you listen to that track now. And of course, like in the time that I wrote Circuit Freaker, like the music, and the time that I released it, which was, you know, maybe a month or two ago or whatever it was now, a lot of things had changed for me, you know. That's a lot of time. 10 years is like a lot of time to, you know, grow and to learn more, you know, about recording and even playing the instruments and songwriting. You know, 10 years is a good amount of time for a lot of change to take place. And of course, a lot of change did take place. And, you know, maybe what I'll do at the end of this is I'll share with you the old version of Circuit Freaker, the original version, and let you hear that, you know, what it used to sound like when I first wrote it. And it's very similar. You may not hear too much of a difference, really. But, you know, I was really happy with the final version of it. You know, I like the idea, I'll tell you, I like the idea of making a song that was instrumental, It does have some, like, I guess, lyric or word to it, but it's more like an effect, that voice saying, go, It's not really me saying it. It's not somebody singing lyrics or something. It's just, it was kind of a weird kind of departure for me to do Circuit Freaker. And I also, too, had this idea, and this is probably brought on by the medicine that I was taking at the time. But I wound up running that whole song like through an effect called a flanger, okay? And normally, like in a studio situation, music production situation, running like the entire song, like the entire mix of a song through one effect is like a big no-no. Like, as far as I can tell, or as far as I know, it's not something that a lot of producers or engineers would do. They would discourage that kind of thing. And just one night, kind of like on a whim, by accident, in my purple haze that I was floating around in, I decided to run that song through this effect, this flanger. And oh my gosh, it was like, it sounded so good to me. In my state of mind, I was like, this is really wild sounding. It sounds like fire. Like if music could sound like fire, this is what it would sound like. So I did decide to kind of take a little bit of a risk, to kind of go out on a limb a little bit and run, maybe not the whole song through that effect, but certain key instruments in that mix through that effect. And that's what you hear. It gives it that kind of sound, like that weird kind of scoop of air, and I just loved it. I thought it sounded great, and like I said, it was like a departure of from what I would normally do. I normally would not do that. No one would ever do that, but I can do whatever I want, remember? So I could just, okay, I'll do that. And that's another thing that's kind of cool about doing things the way that I'm doing them, like by myself, because, I release a lot of my music like as instrumentals, and when you really think about it, it's a really good idea to do, especially in the age of YouTube and people making videos and stuff, like to have music without lyrics, and it just is music, and there's no context. It's just what the music is. But think about this, like if I were in a band with like a lead singer, which I have been, there is like no way, okay, think about this. There is no way that a singer in a band would allow the music to be released without their voice on the recording, But in my case, in the situation with Pipe Choir, I am the singer. So I don't care if the lyrics aren't and my voice isn't on the recording. I'll release both. I'll release a version with my voice, and I'll release a version without my voice, and I don't care because it's me. Like, I don't care. There's no ego involved. It's not like, a source of pride or hurting my pride or something, right? So think about that. It's kind of cool. And Circuit Freaker, there you go, is an example of that. Like, I could have put lyrics on it. I could have, tried to come up with some wonky, thing to sing over it, or something stupid. I guess I had some ideas, but none of them were really good. So in the end, I was better off just releasing it like I did. And as far as I know, it might be one of the only strictly instrumental pieces that I've released. There is no other version of that song with my voice on it. So, I try to do that. I try to do things differently each time. There's an effort there to come up with a new thing, come up with a new approach or a new idea. And, very often it's a subtle change or subtle difference or something that people probably don't even notice, but I notice it and I know it's there, and that keeps me kind of like challenged and doing something fresh or trying to do something fresh each time I release a new song or something, or I'm working on a new song. So there you go. There's Circuit Freaker. And, I hope that you guys will enjoy it. I hope that you've listened to it already, but if you haven't, check it out. And like I said, maybe at the end of this podcast, I'll let you hear what the original sounded like, and then I'll give you the new version too, so you can, put them back to back and listen and hear the difference. Now, okay, I'm going to talk to you now about this song I released called Everything Will Be Alright. Okay? This song, okay, has got kind of a weird story. Alright? And it doesn't sound like much when you listen to it. It sounds like a pop song, and even some of the comments that I got about it were, alluding to that idea, like, oh, this is a departure from what you normally do, this is a pop song, and I don't have any problem releasing something that sounds like a pop song or something that's different. I don't have a problem releasing anything that I come up with, because it's like, I can't make the same sounding music all the time, and what would be the fun in that? Like, I listen to a lot of different music. I'm influenced by a lot of different music. And, therefore, the music that I make myself is going to be sometimes eclectic and, grabbing from different genres or, different influences or things I've heard over the years. And I have no problem with that. And as far as I'm concerned, if you are a recording artist or a songwriter or whatever, even it doesn't matter if it's music or not. It doesn't have to be music. It could be any kind of creative endeavor. You should be grabbing from all different angles, and you should be striving for that, as far as I'm concerned. That's my opinion. Like, there's nothing wrong with changing things up every once in a while, and doing something different. So, anyway, the song "Everything Will Be Alright," back in like 1991, okay, when I was really kind of just starting to write songs and kind of like mess around with this idea of writing my own songs. Hang on one sec. I'm going to get a sip of my coffee. Hang on. Oh, man. I got Dunkin' Donuts coffee today. Whew, that's probably why I'm talking so fast. I'm like wired. I don't know what they put in this coffee, but it tastes so good, and it jacks you up. I mean, I could do like laps around my house right now, Anyway, oh, is that good? So back in like 1991, I was just starting to kind of mess around with the idea of writing songs. I wrote maybe like 3 or 4, maybe 5 songs, okay? And I wound up recording like 2 or 3 of them in a studio, and there were like 2 other songs that I didn't record, okay? But the 3 songs that I did record wound up going like bullshit for me, okay? And I'm not sure if you know the story of pipe choir back in the origins of pipe choir, but I had a song called Waterfall, and I had a song called Savior, okay? And I just wrote them like, I didn't know what I was doing. I just wrote them, okay? I didn't know if they were good or bad. They were mine, and they were original. And by some weird, turn of events, I wound up getting the opportunity to go into this studio in my city of Cleveland, by myself, without my band that I was in. I got to go in the studio by myself and record these 3 songs. And what wound up happening immediately after that is kind of inexplicable. Like, I don't know how to explain why this happened or what, but the songs that I recorded in that studio wound up making it onto mainstream radio in my city, okay? Just this weird turn of events, Okay. Now this is like my first at bat, like my first song. Okay. The first song I ever really wrote. Okay. It winds up going crazy. Okay. And they were playing it all the time on the radio. It became a hit on the radio. It's kind of hard to believe that ever even happened, really, when I think about it now, but it's true. Okay. And that was like the start of all this stuff that I've made. That was the beginning of pipe choir. And I think, I did talk about this in a Snowflake 33 episode. So I guess if you want to, you could go back and find it. I think it was the Fame podcast that I was talking about that concept of fame. So if you want to, if you're so inclined, go back and check that out if you want. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is that, okay, these 3 songs I had kind of went crazy. They did really well. And I had these 2 other songs that were, they were kind of like not great. And I had met this guy in high school. Okay. He was like a musician. He was like in another band. He was younger than me, but he was an all right guy. His name was Mark Went, and he played bass. And from what I remember, like the band that he was in was like really into like Jane's Addiction, so they were kind of like emulating Jane's Addiction, and that's what you do when you're young, right? But anyway, so I wound up, kind of like staying in communique with this guy. He was a musician on the scene, playing kind of like the same clubs I was. And, of course, he was a homie. He's from my city that I went to school in and everything. So, we maintained some kind of relationship. And, after my songs did well on the radio, he started calling me, okay, because he wanted to be like more than a musician or a bass player or anything. He really wanted to be like a studio engineer, like he was going to go into that field. And it was kind of cool, I guess, because his father, I remember this distinctly because it was one of the only times I've ever seen anything like this, but his father, Mark's father, was really supportive of him and really trying to help him along, actively. And, his father started to call me and ask me if I would be willing to do some recording with his son, Mark. And I was like, well, of course I would, of course I will. So I had this song. I don't even think I had a name for it, but it was the song Everything Will Be All Right. Okay. I don't remember what I called it, but I went to Mark's house and, he had like a little 4-track cassette recorder, and, we did a version of this song, and it was, God love him. Okay, I mean, he tried very hard, and we were just young kids who didn't know our asses from page 8. We hadn't figured it out yet, but it came out terrible. I mean, it was absolutely horrible. Okay, and to tell you the truth, I had forgotten about it, like completely forgotten about it. But I had this like box filled with cassette tapes from back in the day, and every once in a while, like when I'm burned out on working in the studio or something, or I just need to take a break from it all, I'll go back and I'll just for fun, I'll start listening to these cassette tapes from back in the day. Well, maybe about 4 months ago, it was like a Friday night or something, and I was bored and tired of working on the song I was working on. So I started thumbing through these cassettes, and I found this recording that Mark Went and I had done back in like 1992 or 93 or something. You know, it was like way back in the day, this horrible recording. And, you know, as soon as I pressed play, I was like, what is this? Like, I don't even know what this is. And then I remembered, oh yeah, that's right. This is that song I wrote. And, you know, it just was recorded bad. I don't think the song was bad. It just wasn't recorded well. So I got the idea, like, what would happen if I, like, you know, started to record this song, like, knowing what I know now in my studio. Like, what if I brought it back to life? Like, I gave it like a second chance. And I thought that was a really kind of fun idea, you know, especially because the song is like so simple, and, you know, it's not difficult to play or to do. And it was like right away, as soon as I started to, you know, put the song together in my studio, I mean, I knew right away, like, this is a good idea. You know, this is actually sounding like a real song. Like, this is pretty good, you know. Now, mind you, I was a young kid when I wrote that song, and it's apparent to me, like, when I listen to it now, although it may not be apparent to you, but to me, when I hear it, I remember that I loved, okay, back in like 1990 to 95 or whatever, even before that, really, 87 to 95, I loved, okay, the Jesus and Mary Chain. I loved that band. I thought their music was great. It was like simple. It was powerful. It was rocking. You know, it was poppy, but it just worked. And, you know, we know now, you know, through the passing of time, that the Jesus and Mary Chain really kind of paved the way for the band The Smiths on the record label Rough Trade Records. Like, the Jesus and Mary Chain was the major band on Rough Trade Records, and they made a lot of money for that label, and that money, from what I understand, funded the Smiths. So without the Jesus and Mary Chain on Rough Trade Records, America we probably would have heard the Smiths eventually, but the reason the Smiths became what they are, or one of the reasons, is because the Jesus and Mary Chain had paved the way. Okay, so I loved the Jesus and Mary Chain, and you can hear it in my singing and everything. And I thought, you know, when I listened to music from back then that I was writing and stuff, I kind of laugh a little bit because the influence is so heavy from the Jesus and Mary Chain, and other groups too. I mean, there were other groups that I was drawing from or whatever, but like I was saying before about Mark and his band, you know, with Jane's Addiction, like, we emulate our heroes. Like, we emulate what we like to hear, you know, when we're first starting out. And I was doing that. So when you listen to Everything Will Be All Right, you know, maybe if you're old enough or you're familiar with the Jesus and Mary Chain, you know, you'll hear that in that song. And I had no bones about that, you know, just a couple months ago when I was working on it. Like, I was kind of proud of the fact that it sounds like the Jesus and Mary Chain. And, like, maybe it's not such a bad idea to reintroduce, you know, that sound, like, right now. And, you know, just judging by the response that song is getting, you know, of course, like, none of my songs are smash hits, right? But, you know, in my world, you know, I can kind of gauge, like, when a song is doing okay, and that one's doing okay. You know, it's like people are receptive to that sound. And even though it's poppy, even though it's simple and it's kind of bubblegum, and, you know, it's not this hard-hitting subject matter, it's really kind of a whimsical romp, you know, about love or something, you know, like a love song, you know. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, sometimes that's cool too, you know. Like I'll decide what's cool, you know, like, for me. Like, I decide what's cool, and as far as I'm concerned, that's cool. So there you go. There's the story behind that song, Everything Will Be All Right. And you know what? I'm happy with the video too. I gotta say, of all the videos that I've made, good or bad or indifferent, whatever, I gotta say that I love the video for Everything Will Be Alright. I think that the footage goes perfectly with the music. And you know, when you have like a song and you're going to make a video for it, which, you know, I try to do with every song, you know, it's really difficult sometimes to kind of come up with a concept, you know, for the video. Like, that's a whole separate ball of wax, you know? Hang on, I'm going to get another sip of coffee here. Oh, man. Okay, one more sip. Okay, so this idea of having to come up with like a visual as well as the song, you know, I mean, it's really kind of a whole separate world, really. And it's difficult a lot of the time for me. Like, I'll have a song, you know, like Anatoly, you know, and yeah, I guess I could go grab, you know, snippets of that movie, The Island, and, you know, put them to the music, but that would be kind of like lame. And there's all kinds of like copyright stuff you got to deal with. And for a guy like me, an outsider artist on the underground, that's not going to happen, you know? So I have to come up with other ideas. And with this song, Everything Will Be Alright, it was just like kismet. It was just, you know, meant to be. Like, as soon as I put that footage, that single shot of that girl dancing to this music, like, just, it was perfect. It was perfect. And you may or may not agree, and that's okay. But you may hate the video and the song. I don't care. But I like it. I find myself watching it and listening to it probably more, believe it or not, than most of my other songs and other videos. Isn't that strange? This totally, you know, easy, simple, cheesy pop song I did, I'm going to it and I'm watching it and I'm liking it more than the songs that I've like slaved over and really worked so hard on, and the videos I tried so hard, and I don't like them as much. Isn't that weird? That's kind of a weird thing, but that has happened. So there you go. A little bit of talking today about some tunes, about some music, you know, about my music. Oh yeah, okay. And I also wanted to tell you, this is kind of funny. Like, in my history, okay, my 20 or 30 year history now as a songwriter, okay, because I guess I am a songwriter, right? There's been maybe like 1 or 2 or 3 songs I've done in the course of 30 years, okay, where I worked on them for a long time, and I worked on them for so long that I had to stop. I couldn't do it anymore. It was driving me crazy, and I'd put it down, and then like many years later I'd pick it up again, work on it totally, like just really try, get sick of it, burned out on it, put it down. A couple years go by, pick it up again. There's only been like 3 of those, maybe only 2, okay? One of those songs is a cover version, okay, of the song by Peter Gabriel called Come Talk to Me, okay? I had this like great idea to cover this song and to put these big drums in it, you know, and have it be part of the M Circle Drum Brigade. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but the M Circle Drum Brigade is a project that I've done aside from pipe choir, aside from PC3 and all the other stuff. This project was like a marching band idea, big drums, minimal music, and vocals. That was like the thinking. And I wanted to do this version of Come Talk to Me, you know, my way, like with the big drums and all that stuff. And it was like, you know, I thought it was a brilliant idea, you know, and that was back in like 2010. I have worked on this cover version of Come Talk to Me for so long. I have more, session backups, more files, just more content, more data around this cover version of this song than any other song I've ever done. Okay? We're talking a good 10 years, of working on this song, and it just was never able to kind of like come together fast enough. It was very difficult for some reason for me. It is a very difficult song to cover. And which surprises me, because I thought, when I first started out with this idea for this song, I thought it would go a lot smoother than it did. And, I started to work on the song again a few weeks ago. I decided, you know what? I'm going to work on that cover version of Come Talk to Me. I'm going to finish it. I'm going to put it out into the public and get it behind me, so I don't have to think about it anymore. Like, I'm going to finish it. And see, what would happen was, over the years when I would work on it, I would work for maybe a month, work on the drums and like singing it, and then, okay, what kind of guitars do I want to put in? And, oh, those sound like crap. I have to redo the guitars. They sound like crap. And I would just, work on it until I couldn't work on it anymore. Like, it was driving me crazy. And I would find myself putting it down, starting to work on something else, and I would forget about it. And then, a year later or months later, whatever, I would go back and find that last session I worked on, load it up, start working on it again, get sick of it again, put it down, work on something else. It just kept happening, more than any other song. Okay. And so just recently, I was in that situation again, but this time I decided, you know what? I am not going to put this song down. I am not going to stop working on it. I'm going to finish the song now, and I'm not going to think about it anymore. I'm going to put it out there, whether people like it or not, or whether it sounds like crap or not. I don't care. I'll do the best I can. I'll make it sound as good as I can, and then I'll be done with it. So hopefully, the hope is I'm very close to having it to a point where I'm satisfied with what I have. I think it's good enough, and it's not just because I'm sick of working on it. It's more like I really do think at this point there would be no point in releasing it sounding like crap after all these years of tweaking it and working on it. It's gotta sound at least decent. So hopefully, in the next couple days or something, I'm not exactly sure. I'm very close to having it finished, but I'll release that, and it'll be behind me. You'll be able to hear it. Hopefully you'll like it, and hopefully I will too. Hopefully I'll listen to it a year from now and I'll go, hey, actually doesn't sound too bad. I'm not so sure that'll happen, but I'll probably be more like, oh, I should have changed this, or I should have redid this, or I should have, there'd be something. Always be something probably with that song. But that's coming up soon. You'll be hearing it soon, hopefully. So anyway, I guess I've been yapping about my music for, almost an hour now. It's pathetic. I know. You just wind me up with some coffee. Hang on, get another sip. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's like perfect. Perfect temperature. Perfect taste and aftertaste. Fantastic. Hang on. Oh. Thank God for coffee. So that's it for today, guys. Sorry it wasn't anything spectacular this time around. But I guess, maybe it's interesting for you guys. I don't know. think it might be, right, to hear me talking about this stuff. I mean, how often do you really get a chance to have some, underground outsider artist musician, talking about the intricacies of what I do, and the process, I don't know. Maybe you can tell me in the comments. Is it worthwhile to you? Or is it boring the snot out of you? Or maybe don't tell me. Don't tell me anything in the comments. Just let me live in this world I live in my mind. No, I'm just kidding. Having fun. Trying to anyway, in this crazy, crazy world we're in. And hopefully you guys are too. That life isn't like dragging you down too much and all this nonsense, with the politics and the world and oh geez, it's like watching reality TV, but it's not reality. It's like, I don't even know, is the word fake? I guess that would be the word, but I don't know. It's just so outrageous and tabloidish. It's the National Enquirer, but like in video, it's like that. Yeah, chin up everybody, hang on. Life isn't really as bad as they're portraying it on your television or on your smartphone, the stuff they're cramming down your throat about Trump and Biden and politics and coronavirus and all the social media stuff and cancel culture, all these things, just, tune out, tune out. Listen to a pipe choir song. Listen to Everything Will Be All Right. It's an appropriate title for right now, isn't it? Maybe, huh? Maybe, everybody. Maybe everything will be all right. Let's think about that. Until next time. So, my happy innovators, until next time, this is Mike Bostwick from Pipe Choir Records signing off. And remember, folks, if you want to keep what you've got to give it away. Take it easy, everybody. Okay, happy innovators. I got some music for you today. I'm going to play for you the original version of Circuit Freaker, and then I will play for you the new version of Circuit Freaker, and I will let you tell me what you think. Hopefully you'll enjoy it, and until next time, keep the faith, try to be happy, try to have some fun. And don't let all this stuff that's going on around us and the news and all that, don't let it drag you down too much. Okay? Because everything will be all right. Peace out, everybody.